Check, check. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I have a private Twitter account or X account, whatever you want to call it. But I kind of write creative thoughts, things that I want to remember. Usually they're related to music, but I think they can kind of apply to anything creative. And the other day I was writing something about AI, something that we're all thinking about and something that is kind of looming over the entire music industry. And as I was writing it, I thought maybe other people would want to know what I'm thinking about. Maybe not. You can let me know if you thought this was really stupid and I won't make another one. But here's what I wrote. Harnessing new tech in and of itself is not what makes meaningful and novel artistic movements happen. It's all about and only about creating a new emotional palette with a specific combination of signature elements. New tech is often just the easiest route. So before I continue, just as like a little disclaimer, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm not an expert in AI. I'm barely an expert in music, if you even want to call me that. So this is all just my opinion, and you can feel free to disagree. All right, so let's break it down. In my opinion, music is all about translating an emotion. That's all it is. So for me as an artist, I'm trying to take note of a feeling that I've had, and my whole process is just trying to figure out how to package that feeling, that emotion that I felt, and translate it to another person, to you. Everything else, all the little pieces and parts and decisions that make up the final version of the song, that's all just a means to the end of translating that emotion that I felt to you. And in pop culture, in my opinion, when big musical moments happen, it's usually because a new emotional space has opened up or a new emotional palette has been invented by an artist or a group of artists that us as the audience, we haven't felt up until that point. Sometimes it's an emotion that we haven't felt for a long time and it's just been repackaged in a different way. But that topic in and of itself can be a whole separate video. The whole like nostalgia porn thing and people buying into it or not buying into it. But usually the movements that last and are constantly referenced 20, 40, 60 years later, those are all predicated on emotions that the general public or pop culture hasn't felt before. Okay, so piggybacking off of that, the easiest way to create a new emotion with music or with your art is with tech. Like, obviously, right? Because prior to that new tech, it just didn't exist. So just by the way of having a new piece of technology at your disposal, you are inherently creating kind of a new emotion because it's something that we haven't heard before or seen before. A good example of that is the 80s and how much it was dominated by synthesizers and drum machines and stuff like that. And it really gave this dystopian, futuristic, detached from reality kind of emotion. And the reason why it was such a big movement was because prior to that, it didn't really exist. Synthesizers were really kind of getting developed in the 70s, late 70s. So we started to see some, but if we go back to like the 60s, they just didn't exist. So obviously an artist or a group of artists starting to use synthesizers, it just created a new emotion. It created a new movement. And ever since then, I feel like there's been this narrative that's been peddled by people in the music industry or people adjacent to the music industry where they say, oh, you have to stay up to date with new tech and you have to keep up to date with what the kids are using, otherwise you're going to get left behind. And lately I've been seeing a lot of similar sentiments being peddled about AI, that, oh, if you don't use it, you're going to get left behind and other people are going to use it and create new sounds, or at the very least do what you're trying to do much faster, that you're going to be doomed if you don't use it or whatever. And I kind of disagree. Again, if we're using my definition of what music is, as a basis, if your goal is just trying to translate an emotion that you felt, you don't have to use new technology to do that. It's just the easiest low-hanging fruit way to get there. An example that I like to use is shoegaze. The biggest example is My Bloody Valentine, but there's a few artists before them like Jesus and the Mary Chain. But in the late 80s and early 90s, when My Bloody Valentine was breaking out into the scene, they didn't really use new tech. Maybe they pioneered, putting a reverb pedal before the fuzz pedal or whatever to create that wall of sound. But all of those tools were available for like 10 plus years. And everybody else trying to make music had those tools available to them. They were just able to zoom out and think about the emotion and putting that at the forefront of their creative posture. And they created a new movement. And now I think arguably we're in the third or maybe even the fourth wave of a shoegaze dream pop revival. And it's just constantly going to get referenced for probably decades and decades longer. So basically what I'm trying to say is, yes, you can use AI to your advantage to create new sounds, to create a new movement, to create a new wave, or even just to make things a little bit faster for you, but you don't have to. And if you are somebody that's been feeling dejected or lost or hopeless, or you want to quit music because there's this whole AI thing looming, I think you should keep going because in my opinion, the most important thing is your creative integrity and your creative posture. And instead of being reactive in your work, I think it always benefits to be honest and steadfast and true to yourself. Yeah, that's just about it. All right, I'll see you in the next one, maybe.